Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I'm
Hello,
Kara.
hello. I'm Alma.
Welcome back to the Spirit Bubble.
Yes.
Yeah,
How's life been treating you?
it's been getting steady again. I think.
Nice, calming down after the Christmas busyness and
Yeah,
getting back into the swing of things.
yeah. I think it's finally starting to get little bit more steady now. So
Nice. That's a
yes,
good
I
time to sit back and reflect on how the year's been going and, see how you're wanting to fall into line with the year,
yeah,
right?
that is true. That is true. It is the perfect timing for that. And how have things been for you?
Working on balance. That's the big thing for me this year. And right now, I am having a lot of tired hours. It's hard for me to stay awake. So I'm having to
Oh,
struggle with getting everything done in the limited amount of time that I'm awake. And so, hopefully, getting all these sleeping hours, I'll get over it and get on with being more active.
yeah, and maybe a balance with health. You mentioned wanting to be more focused on health too. Maybe getting more back in balance with the health might help out with that.
That's the hope. That's exactly what we were thinking.
Yeah, definitely. Speaking of balance, guys, I know that not too long ago we had touched up about shadow working. We talked about basically what the basics of it was, which is like facing our negative, facing the sides of ourselves that we push away, that we don't like, that we don't want to display, and that we try to reject, right?
hmm
But the whole point of shadow work is that in facing those, you're going to find a lot more sense of wholeness and balance. Because the shadow is just as important as the light. We all have both of them. And so we want to try to highlight the importance of what it is to love that shadow side just as much.
Right. Because that a lot of times we're only showing our light side to people, the thoughts of ourselves that we approve of, that we accept, and that we think others will accept. But meanwhile, while not showing our whole selves and hiding those parts away, that's rejecting the self, right? It's turning the
Mm-hmm.
self down and putting the self down in a negative way. But shadow working brings into light those negative aspects of yourself that you want to look at, that you want to accept as are a part of who you are. And it's not that you're negative because you have those, but it just shapes the part of who you come to be as a whole person. And you don't have to play pretend anymore, right? It's seeing
Right.
yourself as you truly are.
Because loving yourself as you are, it's not just loving your light side. It's not just loving the good things that you have. You have to learn how to love the bad stuff too. Now, it's not saying that, oh, I'm a procrastinator, so I'm going to love that and procrastinate all day. That's not necessarily what it means. It just means we have to be open to accepting and are loving ourselves for everything we are, including that.
hmm Absolutely. Because in including those dark sides of yourself, you're leaning into a deeper form of self-love, which is unconditional love and acceptance, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because those parts of yourself, there comes a point where you can realize how much of yourself you can change and how much of it is just you. And in recognizing that balance between what you can change and what is just you learn to know yourself on a deeper level.
Yeah. Um, say we could wake up in the morning. I feel like I have a thought forming, and I'm not like it's not like
Not coming to you right away.
right. Well, let's say okay, we wake up in the morning and we think, oh gosh, I hate how I behave in the morning, right? But we know that passes. So we shouldn't hate ourselves for how we act when we're not fully awake, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We shouldn't hate
Absolutely.
ourselves for the mistakes that we make when it comes to those habits that we reject or that we see as unacceptable. You know, we shouldn't hate on that stuff, and we shouldn't talk down to ourselves because we have those traits or because we did that. You know, it's like you said, it's a part of us. You know, it's just naturally going to occur. I mean, we can try to control it, but things like that, they're naturally going to occur.
Absolutely. And learning to walk in balance with them is learning to accept those traits exist, not pretending they don't, and leading a life of disillusionment, right?
Yeah.
Because accepting those faults or flaws or whatever you might want to call them, mistakes, they're part of who you are and they can help you grow into becoming a better reflection of yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just by for me, it's procrastination. That's a big one for me.
Oh
And
yeah.
so I come to a place, I guess, where I've accepted that I'm going to procrastinate about things, but I do know that when it comes time to get something done, I can buckle down and get it done. So I I accept that I'm probably gonna wait way too long to do a lot of things. But in the end, the things that needed to get done usually do end up getting done on time.
Yeah, definitely. Um, it's like I could be very social like this, but then sometimes when I'm out in the public and I'm at my job and it's busy, I can become very antisocial, you know, and that's a very human nature, you know. We
Oh,
don't
yeah.
like our space getting taken up so often, you know. We like to have our own space. We like to have our own bubble.
Mhm. Our spirit bubble.
Bubble. And learning to accept that as a human flaw, it's like, okay, now I don't have to chastise myself for this, you know. I work in this field, but I don't have to chastise myself because I know that I'm accomplishing my things in other fields as well, and I'm picking myself up from it, even if it does happen.
Mhm. Absolutely. And that's just it. You're picking yourself up from it if it happens. It's fine if it happens. It's going to happen. It's a part
Mm-hmm.
of who you are, right? But it's just knowing that in light of those incidents, you can still strive to do better. And that makes you puts you on that path of learning the self to be better in the moment that you're in.
And learning to love yourself through those moments.
Oh, that's a good point.
Yeah, not letting those mistakes or those habits pull you down into thinking that you're somebody unworthy. It absolutely does not mean that. You know, loving ourselves through those moments, it could really empower you to be a lot more consistent with your own light, in fact.
Mhm. Absolutely. When you learn how to love yourself, right, in a real and healthy way, you have a healthy relationship with yourself. It's easier to face the world in all of its details because you're in a better spot mentally, physically, spiritually. You just feel better because from the inside out, those good feelings have come from that acceptance and that wholeness of self.
Yeah. And if someone were to point out something that you may have done or something that may not have turned out so well, you don't have to be like, oh, I'm sorry, I shall do better. You can be like, oh, I know, that's just, it's going to be like that sometimes, and I can't help it, you know?
Yep. Yep. You
Something
hit
to
some, you
laugh
miss
at.
some.
You're right.
Yep.
Laughing at yourself for that kind of thing, you know? And maybe that's a form of love that maybe you could try practicing is when you make those little mistakes or you do those little things you were like, oh my goodness. And you know, laugh at it rather than, you know, cry about it.
Right. Be upbeat about it because it's a chance to learn, a chance to grow, and maybe a chance to change. But rather than being down about it, which is just negative feelings that don't really motivate you to do anything, right?
Yeah. My cat is sitting on top of the ledge and he's kind of scaring me that he's going to knock something down.
Oh,
Tish,
goodness.
Tish, come here. Look, let me get him. You probably hear him. Oh, buddy. Oh,
Oh,
buddy, don't knock anything down. I promise you, he will. He'll like, he'll be like, "You're not giving me attention," and just like knock something off.
oh, that quick. And he's like, I want attention now, and I'll make sure you give it to me.
Right? So I am. I'm giving him attention.
There you go. Nice compromise.
Yeah, yeah. But learning to accept those things about yourself is so crucial because if you cannot accept it, how can you accept it in others? How can you love others unconditionally if you can't love yourself unconditionally?
And honestly, I think the answer is you can't. Until you learn to love unconditionally from the inside, it becomes a struggle to love unconditionally on the outside. So the more you learn to love yourself wholly and just as in just balance with all of who you are, right? Then you learn to love others in the same way because you can see yourself in them. You can understand them because in that beautiful way with unconditional love and acceptance, we're all on the same page. And
Yeah.
it's a beautiful page to be on.
You can be a better reflection on others, and that's going to make you be more real and genuine to others too, which is going to open up more opportunities because would you want to admit a mistake to someone who's such a perfectionist and doesn't accept any flaws? Or would you want to admit it to someone who's open and listening and understands?
Absolutely the latter. I'd like somebody who would understand and hear me
Yeah.
out and be
Oh,
on
he's
my
fine.
on the same level as I am.
Okay, buddy. Oh my goodness. Buddy, look. Look. Oh. can I put you down and you not break something, please? Okay, thank you. Oh my word! But
Aw.
it's oh, I know, right? But it's just it's so easy. It's easy for us to say it because we've been through that path of facing our negative selves. We've overcome it, and it's not easy to defeat the expectations of always being good and doing good and to learn to accept those moments when you aren't. But when you do, there is a sense of wholeness that really comes about you. You know, suddenly instead of you being this goody person who always strives for perfection, now you're a real whole human in this world who is so much more relatable to everybody else in this world too.
Absolutely. Being able to recognize your whole self puts you it it is definitely a more relatable way of being because
Mm-hmm.
you're not on a pedestal, you're not perfect, you're not expecting yourself to be better than others. You're the same and you can show them in all the same ways that everything that you've done wrong or every mistake you've made has taught you and shaped you into who you are. And it becomes a lesson to share with others, which is
Yeah.
just beautiful.
Yeah, and you won't feel so let down when you are less than perfect in something. It's a lot less negative responses to yourself when you learn to love that whole self. You also learn to be able to deal with your whole self in everything, everything.
Mhm. It's developing a better relationship with yourself. For the longest time, I felt that, like, my inner voice was just this toxic energy because it was always critical, never accepting, and it was never kind to what I was going through or who I was. And so in
Yeah,
turn, because I had that negative relationship with myself, I had a negative relationship with the world around me. And it wasn't until I hit that rock bottom moment where those darks became something that I had to accept because if if I couldn't accept myself, how was I going to expect anybody else to accept me? So it it became a pivotal point in learning how to love myself so that I could be someone that I wanted others to love loving. that makes
Right.
sense.
Yeah. It's it has helped me in realizing my power in the negative that's equal to the power of my positive, as well as helping to overcome situations that may have brought anxiety. Because, like, what if I made a mistake and said the wrong thing to the wrong person? My anxiety would, like, flare up, right? And I'd be thinking about what I said, like, oh my gosh, I'm so dumb, I should have been like this. And and instead of letting myself fall into other people's expectations and feeling like I had an image of what was supposed to be perfect to them, I was able to settle myself down, and that was less worry on me.
Hmm.
Now I
Yes.
didn't have to impress these people. I didn't have to present myself in a certain way to be perceived as somebody who was perfectly good.
Right. Right. Because you are who you are. And whether
Mm-hmm.
that's 100% good or 70% or whatever you want to break it down as, right? You know, in the moment, it fluctuates from moment to moment. So it's hard to say what anybody is in a given moment. But um, so you,
30% good, 70% bad.
yep.
Hmm.
I feel it. I feel it.
Oh my word! But sometimes that's fun though. Sometimes I know I have to admit sometimes it's fun to be a little bad too.
Oh, absolutely, and I think that's part of the experience is learning to love what you're doing, not just who you're being, right? Like, learn how to love the act of being yourself, and so that's whether that's good, bad, or otherwise. If you're in the moment, love yourself for what you're doing, and it's gonna carry you to a much better
Yeah.
place.
Yeah, don't be afraid to face your flaws. Don't be afraid to face your downfalls, your mistakes. Don't be afraid to stop and give it love instead of regret, you know?
Mhm. Absolutely, well said.
It really opens yourself up to more healing when you can love that part and you can give thankfulness for those experiences, because everything, even in the negative, teaches you.
It's definitely all a learning curve, a
Yeah.
lesson to be learned, and, I mean, every moment you come to, whether you knock it out of the park or you fail miserably, it's a chance to understand what you did and why you acted the way you did, and a chance to grow and accept yourself on a deeper level, so in the next coming moments, you can act even better.
Yeah, definitely. So don't be afraid to love yourself through all that. Forgive yourself for things. Let yourself let it go, and then learn to love who you are as an entire individual. Whether it's anger issues, whether it's impatience, whether it's you spend a lot of money, or whether you gamble a lot. Yeah, they might be negative, but they're you. And if you're going to love yourself, you need to learn how to love yourself as a whole. Because if you can't love yourself as a whole, you can't present yourself in a whole nature to the world and to the people that are looking to you. Um, you don't want to keep wearing the mask all day.
That's so true. It's such a refreshing feeling to be able to take off that mask and stop pretending to be something you're not. When you accept your whole self, you just get to be. And that's however you want to be, happy, sad, whatever the moment calls
Mm-hmm.
for, you get to be. And that's who you are. And it's beautiful. And it's just awesome to live in that acceptance of self.
Yes. So give yourself some love today, guys. Even when you make a mistake, give yourself some loves, caress that moment, and learn to see the beauty in it rather than the ugly.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes. Let us know. Like, have you had an instance where you felt like you were being the most negative person, but then you found out something wise from it. How did you grow through your negative experiences? We want to know about your story, you know?
Yep, absolutely. We'd love to read your story, respond to it, and have a nice back and forth started.
Love it, absolutely. We'll definitely dive more into shadow work at some point. This is definitely not the only video on it. So until then, we hope that you guys were able to get something from here. You were able to find a way to get past that hump that you might not have been able to give the love to. And we hope that you guys have a wonderful day. Let us know. We'd love to hear from you. Like, subscribe, and comment.
Yay!
Yay! Y'all have a wonderful day.